How you doing, Rams? Welcome to yet another week of Bird's Eye View. You haven't gotten rid of me yet. I'm Ethan Bird. Come on down and join me. You know how it goes. Well, Rams, the time has finally come. The investigation into CSU Athletics has concluded. I give it a week for everyone to digest and talked about why we love sports last week to kind of give us a buffer before we talked about the unfortunately less pretty side of sports. So I read the report, all 32 pages, and to be honest, in my 3 completed years of college, I think that's the most I've read so far. Sorry, Mom and Dad. And even after reading all of that a couple of times, I seem to find myself more confused every time. I have tried to reach out to the athletics department, but was told that they will be giving no interviews, and the only statement is one made by President McConnell herself. So let's just digest this together, starting with the COVID-related investigation. Let's start at the end of it with the conclusion. I want to look at, it says most student athletes who participated in the investigation reported feeling safe during team activities and believed that coaching and training staff made their best efforts to implement and enforce the university's return to sports protocol. Now I want to look at this first part as it's highlighted. What does most student athletes even mean? When on page 4 of the investigation, it states that multiple athletes raised concerns over the frequency of testing and numerous stating that they were concerned over the fact that staff were not being tested. Then on the very next page, again, numerous athletes were concerned over contact tracing, 2 of which stated that a teammate practiced in between exposure and then subsequently quarantining. And on page 9, 4 members of the football team said that they were concerned that practices were not halted after the first cases on the team. Now, on to the second half of the conclusion. While numerous witnesses expressed some degree of dissatisfaction or concern about aspects of the protocols, those concerns were predominantly related to communication, consistency, or testing policies, so on. You can read the rest. It is the word predominantly that is concerning here. Yes, much of the concern was towards communication and following protocols, but this conclusion leaves some pretty big stuff out. For example, as was reported by the Coloradoan back in August, there was alleged threats to playing time. On page 12, which is at the top of your screen now, it is stated that there were conflicting reports regarding implicit or explicit threats to playing time. One player saying that if players got sick, they would not be playing. Another saying that they were told that they would have to forfeit their spot. And lastly, one reporting, again at the top of your screen, of Adazio cautioning against missing playing time due to missing the installation of the playbook. Based off of all of these, it does not seem like these were explicit threats, and it was reported that many athletes did not feel this way anyways, but as a leader, language matters. It does not seem that Adazio was explicitly threatening playing time, but whether or not it was his intention, when the lines are read in between, things can get complicated. Now on to the racial climate report. This conclusion actually includes steps to take in the future. They include creating a way for athletes to report concerns outside of the department and encouraging it, focus on diversity and inclusion training in the athletic department, and amplifying the university's statement against retaliation within the department. But I really want to focus on that first one here. This is imperative for moving forward, as a large complaint from athletes and staff who were interviewed and when they had an issue was that they reported issues, they were not resolved. On page 14, there were several concerns over Joe Parker's handlings of racial issues. One former and one current football player raised concerns over former coaches and reported that nothing was done. One staff member said that despite Parker addressing racial incidents, he did nothing to address the culture. And another staff member stated that the constant inaction fosters a culture of inaction. This is why reporting outside of the athletics department is imperative in order to bring the deeper, unreported, or ignored issues to light. These are important steps for the athletic department to get to a place where all athletes of all races, sexualities, genders, and creeds will feel loved and accepted. Now, despite all of this, I am still left here with 3 questions. First, one that I had hoped would have been mentioned in the report but was not: how ethical was it that CSU football was able to get back onto the field despite the ongoing investigation? Having the athletes who were being interviewed among the exact coaches who were being investigated could have been a liability. Now, 2, 115 individuals were interviewed, 49 athletes, 63 employees, and 3 community members. Considering this was an investigation into a racial climate, how diverse was the field of interviewees? I've reached out to the investigating law firm on this and am yet to hear any sort of reply. And lastly, how is everyone being kept accountable? If it were to come out that COVID guidelines were being broken, what would happen? With encouraged out-of-department reporting, what happens when racial incidents are reported? And now, despite these questions, this investigation was very important. It helped shed some light on the truth of this whole situation that we did not really know a whole lot about. And that is the most important part. But it may not be over yet, as we are yet to see the aftermath and implementation of these recommendations. And we here at CTV will be the first to let you know. Well, those are my thoughts. But as always, I want to hear from y'all. What are your thoughts on the investigation? Go ahead and hit me up on Ethan_Bird_ on Twitter. Now Rachel and Erica have their pick'em up next. Good night, Rams. I'm Ethan Bird.